In what ways do you ensure the confidentiality and integrity of client data during your penetration tests?
We limit the data we collect, ensure the data we do collect is isolated as much as possible and encrypted, as well as have monitoring in place. To expand on that some, for starters, we limit the amount of your data that we even access, much less store. For example, if we find a vulnerability that would allow us to dump your entire database, and instead of doing that, we only pull the count of the number of records you have, and then we download perhaps maybe 10 or 20 of those actual records, just enough to prove the point, but not the millions or whatever of records that you actually have in your system. As far as technologies that we're using to protect that data, it involves segregation, isolation, and encryption. For example, on an internal network pen test, nearly all of that testing is conducted from our internal Dropbox. Some of it from a client-provided workstation for sure, but most of it from that Dropbox. The data on that Dropbox is encrypted. So even if someone were to, let's say, clone or steal that virtual machine, or in some cases, physical box, they would be unable to read that data. Any sensitive data that is collected remains on that internal Dropbox. Then, after the engagement, when the client destroys the VM, that data is destroyed. We do export or back up certain data for sure, just in case a client has a question later about something, but that would not be things like full user credentials, PII, or anything like that. We even immediately redact things like screenshots, just to further minimize what we are storing. For external testing, as far as what we run on our computers here, we clone a unique, fresh VM every client engagement. Same is true for internal VMs we use for internal testing. We operate within that VM for that client and that client alone. So it's not even possible to have residual data from client A showing up with client B within that VM. In terms of file sharing, what we share with the client, such as those real-time notes we've talked about, and the report at the end of the engagement, or things the client is sharing with us, we utilize a well-known, trusted cloud provider with MFA being required, full audit logging, and so on. Bottom line, anyone that tells you your data is 100% secure with them is lying to you. But you can trust that we here at Pen Consultants will go above and beyond to do everything we can do to protect your data.